welcome to the show, brother. How's everything with you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Very, very good. I thought I liked hearing about that. There was a couple of embarrassing moments when you keep the Zoom call running every so often in the background. I logged on. I was like, Simon, how you doing, mate? And I thought, no, you definitely can't hear me. Just wandering around your living room, shooting voice notes, doing business, mate. I love it. It's like a little insight into your world.
Mate, full transparency, I've done that before and got changed in front of the camera whilst I had 3 people on a Zoom event logging in. I was like, oh, God.
Yes, Simon. That is how you do Zoom all day long, mate. How are you anyway? This is I see your background. It's a lovely home you've got there.
Oh, I appreciate it, mate. But I'm good. I'm back in England, came back from Italy. Obviously, me and you have been trying to touch base and get this arranged since everything kind of blew up in my face with the Bali visa situation.
Yeah.
But look, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? Like we were trying to arrange these things traveling around the world, and then we only really get it to work when we're both in the same country.
It's so funny, isn't it? You know, like you're in Bali for 1 minute, then it works. Then you came back to England for a while and we thought, oh, we might be able to do it in person. Then you go to Italy. Mate, it's life, isn't it? It's the life of the digital nomad, the entrepreneur.
Well, this is kind of something I want to get into with this conversation, because obviously with what you guys have created, which I've got to be honest, because I've not just seen this from the front end, obviously knowing Johnny and getting close with you guys further and further. Seeing the back end, I genuinely believe like what you guys are creating is a leading platform for people to create freedom geographically, time, and financially. So I'd love to loop this conversation back to that. Now, really, really quickly, I've got to kind of ask you this. I'm seeing lots, I know you're on the cusp of having a baby, so huge congratulations, if not imminently. I'm seeing lots of colors of pink on the video. Which colour are you going for? I'm presuming you're about to lose your office.
I tell you what, Simon, let me put you on the spot a little bit here, right? Let me put you on the spot. Now, I don't know if you can see it as clearly through the Zoom call, but I mean, if one wall was going to be a pink and the other walls were going to be white, so it's just a bit of a feature wall, what colour do you think you'd go for?
Oh, I would, do you know what? I'd go middle. It's kind of in the middle. I'd go middle.
Yeah, we're still deciding. I want your input. Okay, middle. I like middle as well. So yeah, you can see these different shades of pink. December 11th is the due date for my very first baby, my baby girl. And I tell you what, mate, December 11th, it cannot come quick enough. I am so excited. I can't even explain it, mate. I'm buzzing with excitement for December 11th to meet my baby girl, my first ever child. I'm so excited.
Man, I'm excited for you. I can literally feel how excited you are. It's amazing to see. I'd love to actually speak to you about that. Yeah. I've seen this before with a couple of my friends when they've gone from kind of like being an entrepreneur in a relationship. But then when they've become an entrepreneur with the news that a child is on its way, it has taken their level of, do I say growth? Do I say their business decision? Like just in terms of them as a person, it's like they become superhuman. It's like something snaps where it's like, no, like straight into business mode, shit happens fast. I'd love to speak to you. Have you noticed that's been something completely off the topic of where I wanted to go to this today, but have you noticed that that's been something that's happened in you? It's really made you go all in.
I love that question. You know what? Interestingly enough, I haven't noticed any form of change whatsoever in that area. Now, will that occur when my baby is actually here? Very, very possibly, because I can imagine what you're describing there. You know, that's that protective instinct, isn't it? I need to keep the roof over our heads. I need to keep the food on the table. I need to make sure my family are protected and my baby is safe. So I can imagine there's probably going to be a sense of that when they're here. But you know what? From receiving the news that we're having a baby up until now, my honest, genuine answer is no. Like, there's not been any change. Whether that's because I already work at quite an intense level and I'm already at the point where I'm constantly thinking about my business and how it can improve, maybe that's the reason there's not been a change. But mate, like, in all honesty, no, I've just stayed at the same level.
Yeah, I was going to say you do work at quite a high rate. After seeing you guys, I'm like, yeah, these guys are pretty much all in every day. So yeah, I'd be interested to see that. I'm going to keep my eye on that. Because I've noticed it with a couple of friends. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Who is this? You have changed. So
Definitely, mate. Definitely. My voice notes might get a little bit more drastic and a little bit more intense after December 11th. Come on, we need this done right now.
Just one word, shouting words. Oh, mate. Liam, look, there's something which I really want to get with you. I know there's a lot of directions I want to take this show. And I really feel I would do everyone an injustice if I didn't get your story of where you were to, well, who you are and where you are now. So before we kind of roll into the direction I really want to take this show, I really want to kind of drop it in there. Liam, I'd love to know the story of you, and I'd love to get this on record for our audience and our people and people who are going to be tuning in and subscribing in the future, because it is ridiculously powerful. So
I appreciate that, mate. And I appreciate you recognizing that, and also those kind words as well, because when it's your own story, it can very much just become the norm, right? Well, of course, it is the norm. For you, it is the norm. It is your life. But, you know, relaying the story each time someone asks me about it, I do take a moment to stop and step back and think, fuck, a lot has happened, actually. A lot has happened. And yeah, interestingly enough, my story, everyone has that past, of course, like through childhood and growing up and the teenage years and those sort of formidable, is that even a word? Every so often I feel like I kind of maybe invent a word, or maybe it's something that I'm just not using in my context.
It's not kicked in yet.
The coffee seems to have never kicked in for me. But yeah, there's just, you know, those years that are really defining, those defining teenage years into your young adulthood. But I never really talk about that, to be honest, because I feel like even though everybody has their experiences throughout those years inevitably are going to come with, you know, ups and downs and challenges and things that you need to try to figure out. But for me, my defining beginning, as far as I'm concerned, was one really specific moment when I was 19. And I decided to move away from what everybody else was doing. Now, I grew up in a place where everybody looked the same, everybody dressed the same, everybody spoke the same. If you didn't have the fucking right pair of trainers or the nicest car, and all, yes, exactly, right, to match the hat. Fuck's sake.
Where was it where you grew up? Because obviously with you being English, I'd be interested to know a little bit more. Where was it?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in South East London. I was born in Camberwell, and I lived there for the first few years of my life. Then I moved to Essex, and I went to school in Essex, a place called Chelmsford. Then I moved back to London. So I was kind of between those two, but I spent my teenage years in Essex.
I was going to say that's kind of amplified with what you're going on about, because I really wish I could drive this home and kind of get people to get a vibe. Like in England, there's kind of like that whole people are looking in sort of vibe. Where you were brought up in Essex, it is amplified. It's like everyone's watching everyone. It's crazy.
It's ridiculously amplified. I mean, and it's so, I look back on it now and I just absolutely cringe, and I have done for a long time, but it's so amplified to the point where everyone is fucking anxious about the clothes they wear and the shoes they've got and the car they drive and the people they spend time with and the music they listen to. And everyone's just moving in the exact same direction, almost like these cardboard cutout Essex minions, right? And I never liked it. Like, I never resonated with it at all. And I was always a little bit different, but I sort of like did the sort of normal thing. You know, I just tried to mix in with the crowd, have friends, get on with everyone. And I got to a point where I was 19 and I woke up one morning and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be an actor, right? Just totally out of the blue, right? I'd never acted a day in my life. I didn't know anyone that was an actor. None of my family members are actors. And I thought, I know I'm going to get ridiculed for this, right? I know I'm going to get laughed at, and I don't care.
Who was the actor that inspired you?
Oh, that is such a good question, you know. Who is the actor that inspired me? You know what I think it is? Opposed to it being one actor, I've always loved television and movies, right? I tell you what, right? It wasn't a particular actor. It was 2 TV series, right? The first one in my young teenage years was, can you remember a TV series called The OC?
Yeah.
Orange County, right? There was this TV series called Orange County, or they called it the OC, and it was like 4 seasons. And I remember so badly wanting to live the lives of these people that I was watching that I thought, how could I possibly do that? I was like, oh, well, one way of doing it, maybe I could be an actor. And then I didn't do anything with it for years because I was like going with the flow. And then someone introduced me to another TV series called Entourage. Did you ever watch Entourage?
Yeah.
Mate, like it just blew my mind. I watched every season and I thought, fuck it, this is it. I'm definitely going to become an actor now. And I toddled down to my local amateur theatre in my local area in Chelmsford, Essex. And I was like, look, I've never done this before. I've never acted a day in my life, but I think I could be quite a good actor. And they said, right, we've got an audition next week for this play. Come and audition. I auditioned for the play. It was called A Taste of Honey. I played a Northerner as well, Simon. And
Nice.
and your accent. You're a Northerner, aren't you, Simon?
I am. I'm actually a city boy from Manchester, but my issue is, so when I started public speaking, I had to go to speaking school, which absolutely killed my accent. And then when I was traveling, I've adopted some form of like Australian. I don't know where my accent's from anymore. It's just It's gone weird.
Yeah, I've got a mate from Crewe, and you sound very similar to him as well. There's like a bit of there's a bit of Crewe in there as well. There's a bit of Manchester, a bit of everything. I like it. I like your accent. I think it's cool. I think it's worldly. But yeah. So anyway, I auditioned for this play. I got the part, and my first ever performance was on stage. When I was on stage, it was in front of 7 people, right? 7, and 2 of those were my mum and my sister. And I shit you not, Simon, I felt like a fucking star, mate. I felt like when I took that first bow, I was like, this is it, right? This is what I want to do. And then I did like play after play after play. I trod the boards for a long time. Then I started getting like small parts in like short films. Then I did a couple of good TV series. Then I did a few good movies. And I was like, this is it. This is it. This is me. This is who I'm going to be. And then eventually there was this just defining moment about a year after that when I was 20, about to become 21. And I got invited to this audition, but I didn't know what the audition was. No one told me. They just said, look, it's a really good audition. And I walked into this room, and there were about 100 guys in this room. Honestly, maybe even 100, 150. I swear to God, mate, this room was it was like a school hall. It was packed. And when I walked in, I had to fill out this form. And at the time, I was really, really into bodybuilding. Like, it was a massive part of my life. And because of that, I knew every little physical dimension of my body. I knew my chest size, my back, my arms, my forearm, my shoulders, my neck. I knew it all, right?
At this point, were alarm bells going off?
I tell you what, at this point, honestly, mate, I thought it's just another audition. Honestly, it was like the amount of auditions I'd been to at that point where there were so many people there, and I thought, oh fuck, it's just another audition. And so I filled in these forms. I sat about for about 20 minutes, and this woman walked out, and she said, "Right, you're all here for one particular part in this one particular movie. Apart from you, Liam, you're here for something different." And I was like, okay. And I sort of looked at her and I pretended I knew what she was talking about. And I was like, yeah, I gave her the wink. I was like, yeah, okay. And she took me into this room, and she was like, basically, right, this was like a defining moment in my life, Simon. It was just, I look back on it now with such joy, even though it was 10 years ago. And she said, right, basically, she said, the movie that we're doing, I can't tell you what it is because it's the biggest movie in the world at the moment. She was like, this is going to be the biggest movie this year, maybe the biggest movie ever, right? She was like, it's definitely going to have the biggest budget. And I was like, fuck, okay. And she said, our lead actor needs a body double for the next 6 months, and you are the exact same size, weight, your physical dimensions are exactly the same as his. And we've been looking for someone with those dimensions for months, and you've just waltzed in. She was like, I can't tell you what the film is, but are you willing to shave your head, and are you free for the next 6 months? And I had this like massive like holiday booked, trip with the lads, blah, 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 all that bullshit. And she was just like, trust me, you want to cancel that holiday right now if you get this part. So I went to like another audition, and until eventually I walked into Elstree Studios in London. And I walked into the office of like the top dog, because he was about to tell me whether or not I got this part. And I looked around.
By this point, they've still not told you what the film is.
I have no clue.
Carrot and stick.
A carrot and stick, right? My brother had an inkling, right? And I'll tell you why in a minute. He cracked it. And I walked into this office and there's all blueprints on the wall. And the blueprint said, Gotham City, the Batman, right? Bane's lair. They were like, and then they told me, so I was body doubling for Tom Hardy as Bane for 6 months. And I was like, fuck yes. And my brother cracked it because he's a massive superhero like nerd. And he was like, look, they've asked you to get even more stacked. They've asked you to shave your head. You're shooting in these 6 locations. He was like, I know this is going to be Bane, right? So then the next day, I'm literally on set, fully shaved head. I'm kitted out in like full Bane costume. They point me in the direction. They're like, right, set's that way. I walk up on set and literally, mate, it's just me, Christian Bale, Tom Hardy, Morgan Freeman, Chris Nolan, and I walk in and Christopher Nolan's like, oh, Liam, good, we've been waiting for you, come on in. And then it's just like the body doubles of the other actors. And I swear to God, mate, it was the best 6 months of my life. Like, I'd gone from acting on stage in front of 7 people, and then all of a sudden I'm breaking bread with Morgan Freeman and he's telling me his fucking life story at lunch. And I thought, this is it, mate. I was like, I've done it. I've cracked it.
I literally thought from the way you teed that story up, you were being set up to go into a porno. I genuinely thought that's where that was going. Mate, that's incredible.
Oh, mate, it was the best thing ever. So I'll tell you a really cool little story from that as well. One day, the production assistant came to me and was like, I was about to go home. They were like, Liam, are you free for just one more day? I was like, yeah, why? And they said, because Tom is required to do this thing, but he's not here. Like, he has to go and do another movie. So we need you to stand in. And I was like, okay, that's cool. They took me up to this room, kitted me out in the full Bane costume. And basically in this room, there were about 25 different artists, right? And they said, right, Liam, what we need you to do is we need you to stand in like all of these various different poses and the artists are going to draw you. Then they told me afterwards that every single bit of Bane merchandise ever created will be based on the drawings taken on that day. So every action figure, every lunchbox, it's a picture of me. Yeah, it's like it's carved from or sketched from a picture that was taken of me in that day. They were like, yeah, because of the licensing and stuff, all of the merchandise needs to originate from these sketches. And I was like, so that's that. And then so that Christmas, everyone was buying me Bane action figures for Christmas. And I was like, this is fucking brilliant.
Did you ever get the voice? Have you got a good Bane impression?
I've got an awful Bane impression. Like, it's so funny, isn't it? Because it would be brilliant if I did a good Bane impression. I can't even come close to it, mate. Have you got a Bane impression?
I can't even remember. It's a weird like Yoda deep thing, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm just going to leave that one there.
That was close, mate. You nearly let it out then.
Yeah, I was like, I can't remember. But so where did this then go? So how did we get from here to where we are now? What's the bridging gap here?
It totally crashed, mate. The whole thing crashed. Like, all of a sudden, I'm on set, 20-year-old actor. I'm with the biggest actors in the planet, right? The biggest director on the planet, and I'm there for 6 months, and I think this is it. I've totally cracked it. My life is cracked. I'm going to go from this movie to another movie to another movie. I got quite a good agent after that. Straight away I did a good film with Benedict Cumberbatch. We had like a good fight scene and stuff. I started doing a couple of good roles. I got a couple of really good BBC drama roles, and one day, I shit you not, it just completely disappeared. The phone stopped ringing. Like, the phone stopped ringing, the auditions stopped coming in. My acting career just stopped. It came to a full-blown halt. And me and my wife, we had just moved into this lovely, gorgeous little apartment in Borough Market in the middle of London. And out of nowhere, mate, I couldn't pay my rent. If I wasn't acting, I wasn't eating. And it completely dried up.
I've heard this a lot, it's just... It literally is. A lot of people like don't realize that this is your moment, milk it sort of thing really does have a lot of truth in it. Whilst it's still there, do you know what I mean? 'Cause it will.
Milk it for everything you possibly can. If I could go back and do that time again, I wouldn't have taken it for granted. Like I would have made more contacts. I would have spoken to more people. I would have pushed it more, but I got complacent. You know, I thought, well, this is Batman. You know, it's the biggest movie in the world. Everyone's going to snap me up. But I got complacent, you know. I did a couple good films after that and then started to dry up. So I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I need a job, and I need that job to, one, pay my rent, and two, to give me the freedom to be able to go to an audition if I get an audition. And I became a postman, right? A full-time postman. Right? And that's why they called me and Lewis the postman and the prisoner. He was in prison over the years. I was actually a postman. And then we ended up building this 7-figure business, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But I ended up becoming a postman. And I thought, you know what? It's just temporary. It's just until I get another big role. It's just until I get another good audition. And then a day goes by, a month goes by, a month goes by, a year goes by, 2 years go by. And I was like, oh, shit. Respect to the postman out there, but it wasn't my journey. It wasn't my path. And I thought, I've just fallen into this and I've become a full-time postman. And I got to the point where I was just like, I need desperately to do something else. You know, my acting career wasn't going anywhere and I didn't want to be a postman forever. And I was sitting around a dinner table one day with my mum and I said to her, look, all I want to be able to work for myself. So I pick my own hours, I decide what I do, and I have freedom. And I want to be able to genuinely help other people. That had become important to me at that stage in my life.
So it's like the two values were freedom and service. Freedom, service, contribution.
And before that, the service and contribution, it wasn't a value of mine. It wasn't even something that I'd thought about. But as I started to get a bit older, I just started to realize the power of that contribution and that service. I'd had a few experiences where I was providing people with service and contribution without asking anything in return, and it felt amazing. And
I'd love to ask you at this point. Obviously, when it comes down to this sort of stuff, you realize key guiding values which were really important to you. And usually, there's a lot of people who feel like they're stuck. They don't really know what the next direction is. Now, I always think that finding those values, your guiding North Stars, is a really important thing. I'd love to ask you, did you know that those were the things? Because obviously freedom was a big one. You knew it's what you wanted to do. Yeah. But how did you know the helping people? How did you know that was a big value of yours? Because when I get asked, that's always been something of mine. And when I've built product brands and stuff like that, I've always had something in me, which is help people. And I just cannot shake it. And it always brings me back to it. So I'd love to kind of speak to you. I think we've got a bit of a similar thing.
100%, mate. And I love hearing that as well, because it's such an important element of finding fulfillment and finding success as well, and contribution. But you know what? I think it was because it was so opposite what I had before. Like my journey into fame was none of that in my mind at the time was geared towards service in any way or contribution or it was so I don't think this is necessarily a fucking bad thing. I think there is a place for this, but it was so geared towards finding fame. And
so it went from significance to service, literally the ends of the spectrum.
Exactly. Yes, exactly, mate. Because that's what I was searching for. It was significance. It was quite self-centered. It was fame orientated. It was money orientated. And I'd got to the point where I realized that the universe, and I was really tapping into this at this point, I was really understanding the connection between me and the universe and everything being connected. I felt really strongly that it just came and fucking smacked me right in the chops and said, stop fucking about. Like, you're trying to get famous and trying to make a load of money. You're not going to be helping anyone doing that. And I'm not going to let you do that. You know, my acting career was going up and up and up and up and up. And out of nowhere, I get smacked in the chops and it completely disappears. And now in my mind, that's not a coincidence. Like, that's the universe giving me on my ass and telling me that I'm going down the wrong path. And then at this point, I started to focus a lot more on the things that make me different from other people. And I started realizing that I love the fact I've got this very, very deep sense of empathy. Like, I can empathize with people extremely easily. I don't need to have been in somebody's shoes to understand how awful someone's situation can be. And therefore I need to find gratitude because mine is so much better. You know, I'm the sort of person that turns the shower off if a fly flies in, because I don't want its wings to get caught up and get wet, and because I know it will drown. And I just think, I've never drowned before, but that must be a fucking horrible, horrific experience. So I don't want the fly to drown. And I sort of thought, I've got this deep sense of empathy for other people. And then the more I was tapping into that, and it started really small as well, like things like giving to the homeless and not asking for anything in return, of course. And then all of a sudden going and volunteering.
Or video in it.
Yeah.
Or video. That pisses me off.
Precisely. Or fucking getting your mate to go, oh, video this, make it look like I don't know you're doing it. Bullshit, mate. Like just doing things for the sake of doing them for people and not getting anything in return. I started to realize that gave me the same sort of sensation that I got that day when I took that bow in front of 7 people. You know, I loved it. I just thought, this is really good. This is really nice. There's something here, right? There's something here. The service of other people, giving other people your time, your value, your attention, your empathy, you know, and on some way it did become a selfish thing because it filled me with fulfillment. And the more I was filled with fulfillment, I thought, I want more of that. I like that feeling. I want to go and help more people. So it started small, but then I started to slowly realize that if acting's not going to work for me, if the chase for fame isn't going to work and the self-centeredness isn't going to work, maybe what I should do is completely gear my attention towards helping other people. Gearing it towards helping myself put me in a job which I really, really didn't like, the postman job, for 2 years. Like, just focusing on myself put me in a position of unfulfillment. So I wanted to flip it. And I said that to my mum. I was like, I want to work for myself because I don't like being told what to do, when to do it, how to dress. It just doesn't sit right with me. And I want to be able to help people. And she said, Liam, it's staring you right in the face. I didn't ever really pay much attention to what my mum did. But it turns out she ran an academy where she taught people how to become coaches, life coaches, mindset coaches, confidence coaches. And I never really took much interest. In fact, I became a fully qualified NLP practitioner and master practitioner at 17 just because she wanted bums on seats when she used to do her courses. So I was actually qualified to coach people to quite a high level. And I never paid it any attention, mate. I thought, whatever, that's what my mum does. I don't want to do what my mum does. And she was just like, Liam, it's staring you right in the face. You're already a good coach. Like, you know how to do it. You're qualified to do it. You can go and help a lot of people. Start a coaching business. Go and coach people. Go and become a coach. And it was the first time I'd ever actually thought about doing it. She had done it. My brother had done it as well. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do what my brother does. I don't want to do what my mum does. And at first, mate, in all honesty, I got into coaching just because it gave me an option to find freedom. That's what I didn't get into it out of pure passion. I didn't get out of it because it was my calling and I knew this is what I should be doing. I thought this is going to be a good opportunity for me to help some people, make some money and work for myself and not be told what to do. And it was only when I actually got into it that I started really falling in love with it. When I started seeing clients and I started practicing more techniques and different techniques and methods and frameworks. And then I started seeing the result as well. When I was coaching people to increase their confidence, people that had never had any confidence before, and then all of a sudden they're confident enough to go and waltz into a job interview or stand up on stage, or people that had really damaged relationships and I was able to help build that, or they were directionless and all of a sudden they knew where they were supposed to go. And I was like, I want more of this. So there's an element of selfishness with it because that feeling of fulfillment, I love that feeling. But if I can get that whilst helping people, then I will do that all day long.
I feel like me and you have had very similar paths, not necessarily with the acting, but different kind of like with the needs and the values and stuff like that. I always like to look at it as like, at first I did the similar thing. I started off in search for significance. I did everything. I built a lifestyle that wasn't necessarily for me. It was, do you know what I mean? Trying to get something, if anything, it was like people to like me sort of thing. But yeah. I really noticed that comes as a byproduct of helping other people. If you can give value, you can genuinely help people. That will probably get you the fame, the glory, the significance, what you actually wanted, but it'll last instead of this short term, do you know what I mean, need?
100%, 100%, mate.
It's incredible to see that. And I love how both gone through the same thing where with you, it was a grounding moment of identifying your human needs. Like, what are the things that you need met in order to make you feel fulfilled, to make you feel like you're growing, to make you feel like you're moving forwards? And I always feel that when people are at that transitional point in their life is that they jump that step. They don't become aware and they don't get clear on what's really important to them, and they start clutching at straws, and nothing ever lasts. It doesn't get any long-lived momentum.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. And my theory behind that as well is, and people fucking hate this word, right? I found in general, people don't like this, but genuinely, and I've tried to come to different conclusions, but I feel there's no other way around it. I put it down to effort. If you're willing to put in the effort to figure out what that is, what you need, to explore it, to search it, because it takes effort, most people don't do it. Most people just let it pass them by. And then they find themselves in a role that they hate, or a job they hate, or a relationship they hate. Because it's hard. It's hard work. It takes a lot of effort to go and search out and carve out that life that you want.
Exactly. We just had Nader Sabri on the show. He literally went live today, and the guy's brain is just so unique. Guy works for like NASA, advisor for loads of governments, XYZ. And we were speaking about is like when people are at that early stage of the reward system, it's a case where they get the dopamine for the reward. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the effort, but I only get excited about the money or the goal at the end of it. And it's on about like, when you really look at people who have done well, athletes, celebrities, they flip the reward system. They constantly get that dopamine hit and the reward whilst on the journey, putting in the effort, doing the shit that no one wants to do is their reward. The fact that they get the result is just a little pat on the head.
Yeah.
It's such a great way of looking at it.
I love that. Just a little pat on the head at the end, it's just a little launch pad off to the next. But yeah, well done. Now on to the next journey. Excellent stuff. Yeah, the journey, mate, it sounds cliched, isn't it? But like, it is fucking true, isn't it? It's all about the journey. It is all about the journey, because you've just got to look at it like a life of percentages. The reward at the end is only going to have made up 1% of the whole journey. 99% of it is the journey itself. So you might as well enjoy the 99% instead of the 1% at the end. And especially when so many people actually beat themselves up through the 99% in the hopes that the 1% is going to be their fucking shining light and their saving grace. You got to totally flip it, mate. You have to absorb yourself into the journey in order to be able to have any sense of fulfillment, happiness, joy, success. But yeah, no, I'll look forward to listening to that episode. That sounds great.
Oh, he's good. Genius. I'll connect you both, actually. I think you guys could there's definitely something there which you could do. The other thing that I want to speak to you about with your story is I was recently listening to a book, and it basically broke down all of what are the key correlations and statistics in businesses that have really gone somewhere. And one of the biggest things with failures was it was solopreneurs trying to build big visions and not relinquishing control to team members and bringing in different founders to help them. Now, with you and Lewis, I feel like you guys are complete opposite, but you've found a partnership that works like magic. And I'd love to kind of go from this story, because I really think this is if you're a person who's trying to carry a large vision, a big mission forwards, you can't do it on your own. And I really think there's a sticking point with a lot of people who kind of don't want to let go, and they want to kind of do it all on their own. And if you look at anything like Apple, Google, even Bezos, they've got boards, they've got teams, they've got co-founders. And I think a big sticking point for a lot of entrepreneurs is actually allowing someone else to come in. And I'd love to speak to you about this, because how did you then get from this part where you knew it was, do you know what, this is the next step. I'm now going to build the business, and now I'm going to find the partner. Like, what was the next continuation of this story to where we are now with Lewis?
That's a brilliant question. So the next step was that I'd left my job as a postman. I had set myself up as a coach. I built a website. I put myself out there as a confidence coach. I was going to help professionals build their confidence. And I saw a few clients, and it was quite good. I had just enough money to pay my rent. You know what? I felt fulfilled. I had freedom. I was doing what I wanted to do. But the money was a problem, right? In the early days, the money was a problem. I wasn't making that much money as a coach, right? And I was a little bit lost. And there came a point where I nearly gave up. Right. And I actually got offered a job in a travel agents, right? And because I went in to book a holiday with me and my wife, and I was chatting to the person behind the desk, and they were like, "Oh, we got a job." And at the time, I was really hurting as well, and I thought, "Oh, fuck, like I love being a coach, and I want to make a success out of it, but I'm not making very much money, and rent is due again." And I was like, "Shit!" And I nearly gave up, mate. I was this close to giving up. And I went to an event. I thought, I'll go to one last event. You know, I'll go and see Paul McKenna speak.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I thought, because there was an event, I had an opportunity to hear him speak, and I thought, I'll go and hear him speak. And I tell you what, mate, he literally fucking blew my mind, right? Long story short, I got to the end of it, and I thought, I can't give up. Like, I can't give up. I've got to keep pushing forward. And I went, and I basically just clawed my way through everybody. And I just basically just grabbed his attention right at the end. And I was like, mate, I want to talk. Yeah, I want us to speak. And so after that, I put myself in a position where I was having a couple of very good conversations with Paul McKenna, which I feel blessed to have done now, because he said something to me that completely changed the whole direction of my business, because it changed my whole mindset. And it's very simple, but very effective. And he said to me, "Liam, the more value you add to other people's lives, the more money you'll make." And I realized in that moment, my mindset was firmly fixed on how much money I can make. And the more I focused on how much money I can make, the less I made. And the more difficult I found making money, right? To the point where I nearly became a travel agent. Whereas he totally flipped it. And he was saying to me, you don't even think about the money. You're not concerned about how much money you need to make. It's not in your level of awareness. The only thing you need to be concerned about is how much value you can add to other people's lives. Put your focus firmly on the value, and the money will become a byproduct. And it completely changed my whole fucking mindset.
Did he hypnotize you? Snap induction just dropped you.
I can guarantee he hypnotized me, because I walked away from that and I felt hypnotized. You know, I walked away thinking, this is it. Boom. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. I know where I need to go. I know who I need to talk to. And I restructured my whole coaching business, and I completely threw the mindset out the window of I need to go and make X amount of money to pay my rent and pay my bills and go on holiday next year. And I just thought, how can I amp up the value through the fucking roof? And when I did that, my one-to-one coaching business became very successful. And I was getting more clients, and the more value I added to their lives, the more money I seemed to make, right? And it was exactly like what Paul said. So since then, I've never thought about how much money can I make. I've only ever thought about how much value can I add, because deep down, I know that'll give me more money. So it's a good exchange.
Completely off topic. You seem like that's very lodged at the front of your conscious brain, that question. Do you every day kind of start the day with that at the front of mind? Is that one of the first things you add in the majority of situations? How can I add more value to the team? How can I add more value to, is that something that's guiding a lot of decisions?
I feel like in the same way that you drive a car for so long and then all of a sudden you could drive from A to B and you don't consciously think about it. I feel like it's fallen into my unconscious mind now, whereas it's always there and I'm always leading with it. But I've actually reached the point where I don't require to think about it on a conscious level. But I do talk about it a lot. That's the thing I notice. I do talk about it a lot. I talk about it a lot with my team. I talk about it a lot with my community. I'm constantly telling people the line that Paul said to me because I'm wanting to relay it. So I think that's also keeping it lodged there in the forefront of my mind. But so my one-to-one coaching business was a success. And then I got to the point where I then wanted to become a trainer, and I wanted to train other people on how to become a coach. So I got myself to the point where I became a trainer, and my business essentially slowly started to move away from one-to-one coaching. And then all of a sudden my whole business model was basically my business model was very simple. I ran Facebook ads to get people into a room with me where I was going to give them free coaching in a group sense, and also let them know how they can become a coach. And basically what I did, I used to just fill up all of these rooms, and I did it about once a week or once every couple of weeks. I just blew them away with as much value as I possibly could give them around the topics of coaching. And then at the end, I would pitch my 1 week coaching training program where I could qualify them as a coach. And I was doing this and it was going well. And I was doing it again and again and again and again. I had the qualifications to do so. I had the accreditation. I was able to qualify and accredit people as coaches. And then I met Lewis, right? And Lewis is 100% the fucking smartest person I've ever met. Like I've said this to him on multiple occasions, and I need to say it to him often because Lewis grew up with the limiting belief that he was stupid. And it was a really big driving force in his life. And he is a genius, right? He's a fucking genius. I've never met anybody that thinks in the same way that he does. So strategically, and also has such a clear forward-thinking vision. He seems to just know what needs to be done before it needs to be done, right? He can foresee the things that are going to approach.
He's 5 steps ahead.
He's fucking like 5 steps ahead all the time in front of everyone. And he knows when something's going to happen before it's going to happen, and he's already prepared for it. So anyway, I know before I knew all of that, I noticed there was this other young, exciting, passionate coach on Instagram. And I was like, and I wasn't even really on Instagram at the time. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Because in my mind, coaches were basically like my mum and her mates, right? In my head, that was a coach, right? It was just like the stereotypical, much older person, suit and tie, very stale, very boring. And I didn't think there were any other young coaches, right? Especially any ones that were like exciting. And then I found Lewis and I was like, fuck, this is really crap. So I sent him a message and I was like, mate, no agenda behind this message. I just want to let you know that I think it's awesome what you're doing. I love the vibrancy. I love the entertainment factor. I love to see how passionate you are. And Lewis, in the classic sense of Lewis, never, ever, ever saying no to any form of opportunity, he instantly was like, let's meet for a coffee. And now I'd had a really fucking tough time a few months leading up to that. And I'd lost my dad the October before. Right? I lost my dad in October. And this was February that me and Lewis were chatting. Well, actually, this was more like December, actually. So it was only a couple of months before that I'd lost my dad. And my dad's twin brother was dying of cancer. He was in hospital and he was like my best friend, right? So my dad's name is John and his twin brother's Jim. So we just lost Dad. We just lost John. And Jim is laying in hospital. His twin brother as well, you know, and he's about to go as well. And so I'm sleeping on the floor like every night in the hospital with Jim, just making sure he's okay. And at the same time, I'm chatting to Lewis, and Lewis is like, I'm telling Lewis about, I've just lost my dad, you know, I'm just in the hospital at the moment. But I'd love to meet, you know, I just felt like I needed to meet him, and he felt the same. And then after I'd lost my uncle, after Jim had passed away, a couple of weeks after that, Lewis came to my apartment and we just had a cup of coffee together and we chatted. That was February 2019. And we literally started working together that day. That day, I've spoken to Lewis every day since that day. We got into business together in that moment. And the reason that happened was because there was good synergy, of course, but what he was doing at the time, his whole business model was that he was taking already qualified coaches and helping them grow their coaching business. And I was qualifying people as coaches. So I had part A, he had part B. I could create a coach. I could take Joe Bloggs and turn him into a coach. And Lewis could take that coach and then make them very successful. So we were like, let's join forces. Let's join together. And the Coaching Masters was born. And at first it started off just as a 12-week coaching qualification, accreditation. Then we created our 15-week ultimate launch program where we can launch their coaching businesses. Now we've got a 12-week NLP practitioner, 12-week NLP master practitioner. We're introducing like a holistic coaching course. We've got a level up course where we're teaching people how to do what we've done by building huge membership sites and getting people in a big community and stuff. And mate, it's just since February 2019, it's just gone boop, 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 and it's just grown and grown and grown and grown. And I have to give it to Lewis. Like, Lewis is fucking a big, he's the driving force. He really is. Like, we both complement each other very, very well. And both of us would say that we couldn't have done it without the other one. And that's true. We couldn't, but mate, he's a fucking big driving force.
It shows. I think one of the biggest things I've noticed is that, like, you've got, it is a perfect jigsaw match. Do you know what I mean? The things that makes it logical, strategic, drive forwards there, but then also on your behalf, it's like, it's the touch, the big value touches, like the caring, the compassion, the delivery, over delivering on the smaller things kind of follows suit with it. So,
mate, 100%, like 100%. And the thing is, that caring and the compassion and the, and allowing people to trust us and love us and understand who we are, like, it's a massive part of it. Like, I couldn't have made a success of this business without Lewis's vision or strategic thinking or operational mindset. And I know the business also wouldn't have been a success without that element of trustfulness, trustingness and caring and love and community and compassion and stuff like that. So we've got a really fucking perfect duo going on. Like, and it's not always been easy. Like, to be fair, like, for quite a high pressured role, we've not really clashed that much, to be fair. I mean, but we have before. Like, we fucking slammed the laptop down on each other a couple of times. But it's all growth, It's, what Lewis always says, conflict leads to resolution, and we've had conflict, and it has led to resolution, and the business has grown significantly as a result of that.
Dude, I absolutely love it. I'd love to let me relay this conversation back now. Obviously, when you met Paul McKenna, there's a reoccurring word in coaching, in your story, what I see, which is a good coach allows you to see the light that's in you. At that time, Paul McKenna made you believe and see confidence within yourself. And it was that moment of I can, which set you up on this journey, which got you to where you are now and what you've done.
Definitely.
Now, there's a lot of people in this current climate, this moment of time, which are realizing the systems aren't working, which maybe realizing they've been locked inside with a so-called loved one who they might have realized isn't the right loved one. And a lot of people might, at this point in life, be looking for something to go and do next. Now, in my eyes, in coaching, everyone has a story. Everyone is 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead, 5 steps ahead of someone who needs their help. So anyone can be a coach. Everyone's got their own individual story to go and do something. Yeah. Now, when I speak to a lot of people at speaking events and stuff like that, it's like, I don't really know what the next step is. I don't know what I want to do on business, but I know I want to help people. I'm just like, look, there's a clear meat here. But one of the biggest things that I've found is in that conversation, and I'd love to know if this is the same mirrored back into what you do in the initial stages when you get those people, is it all boils down to the self-confidence and the self-belief in someone to go and actually do it. Is that some
100%? Yeah, 100%. That's the overriding thought and sensation when you embark on a journey like this. We've discovered with let's call them the average person, of which to some extent we all are, is that, oh, not me. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do this. It's the outsider point of view looking in and thinking, seeing, say, me up on stage or Lewis up on stage or yourself, Simon, on a podcast and speaking to thousands of people and tens of thousands of people and thinking, I couldn't do that. Almost like we're some sort of superhumans. But really, to loop back to what you said, anyone can be a very, very, very successful, powerful coach, because essentially you need 2 attributes to be able to be a very good coach. The first is uniqueness, which everybody has, right? It's the one thing that we do all have. It's the one thing that makes us ununique, is that everybody is completely unique. Everyone listening to this has to realize that no one else in your life has ever lived your life in the exact same way you've lived it. Every time you've turned left or you've turned right, every person that you've spoken to, everything that's ever been said to you about you, everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. Within the realm of NLP, we talk about how we process information. and how we delete a lot of information, how we distort information to allow it to fit in with our own belief system, and how we generalize around information in order to save time. Now, people delete, distort, and generalize information completely differently. And because of that, we all have a completely different version of the world, right? In NLP, we call it a map of the world. Everybody has a different map of what the world looks like. Our map inside our head isn't the world itself. It's just the way that we see the world. So everybody's utterly unique, way more unique than you could ever possibly imagine, right? And that is a great attribute to have as a coach. If you can tap into the realization that you are completely unique and your experiences are unique, it gives you an edge, right? It gives you a unique point of view. And the second thing they need is good training, because coaching is built upon techniques, methods, frameworks, questions. And the fucking most beautiful thing about coaching training, when you're qualified and accredited to a high standard, you don't need the answers. That's what a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that if I'm going to be a coach, I need to be able to produce answers, right? You don't need to be able to produce answers, because you're not a mentor, you're not a guide, right? You're not a teacher. You are a coach. You're there to draw out the information out of the client that you're speaking to. You're not there to give them information or tell them what to do. You're there to ask them a series of questions that are put to them in such a specific way that they can find the answer to their problem that's already inside of them. We have a firm belief that everybody already has the answer deep down inside of them. You just need to draw it out of them. You've got to find it. And you can do that with anyone by asking the right questions, doing the right techniques and methods and frameworks. So because of those two things, genuinely, anyone can become a very good coach.
I love the analogy of the Michelangelo. That just sprung to mind then when you were doing it. And like, I think he always says like the statue is already in the stone. It's just a case of chipping away everything that isn't Mike. Do you know what I mean? The statue to get to the gold that lies underneath and uncover that person. I'd love to ask you this, because you've just touched up on something and we never really get to go in on this. And I think it's a huge thing, like uniqueness. Every single one of us is unique. We've all got a story. We've all been through pains. We've all been through shit that makes us an expert in that area of field and that area that makes us unique. What is it that you feel makes people play small and dim down their uniqueness and try and fit in with the crowd or fit into a box?
I love that question, mate. What makes people play small and fit into that box? I think it's a combination of things, right? I think it's that innate human nature, that part of our brain, the amygdala, that's fucking terrified of venturing away from the crowd, because back in the day, it would mean that we'd be eaten by a bear. You know, I think there is that genuine biological sense of fear that I don't want to stand out, right? I feel like there's an element of that a lot of people have.
It's madness, isn't it? That the protection method we've got is still searching out T-Rexes. It's like the threat of, it's so
It's
mad.
totally mad, isn't it, when you think about it? But it's like, and within the NLP Master Practitioner course that we teach, we talk about timeline, right? We do a lot of work with people's timelines. And we talk about how time in the human mind, we relate time to space. And a little interesting fact for you, Simon, I love this. English speakers and Swedish speakers, we talk about time in relation to distance, right? So we'll say something like, oh, it's been a very long day today, very, very long day, like distance. Greek speakers, on the other hand, they, and another couple of languages, Latin speakers, I think, they talk about time in relation to volume. So they'll say, oh, it's been a very full day today. Oh, it's been very full, you know. And I tell you why that's significant. It shows us that we process time differently inside of our own heads. And if we process it differently, it means that neither answer is either correct, right? Neither of us are right or wrong. It's just a difference of viewpoint. So if someone else can process time in their head completely differently to me, it means that time is moldable. Right? It's changeable. We can change. And that gives us hope, right? Because it shows that we can change our mind to such an extent that we can change our feelings and therefore our behavior and therefore our results. So the reason that comes about is because, 300,000 years ago, the modern human that's walking around the plains of Africa, we have to understand proximity and distance, because if something's close to us, it could be a threat. And if it's far away, it's not that much of a problem. Think about, I don't know, a scary networking event. Oh, fucking hell, it's only around the corner. That's tomorrow. It's very close to me. So I'm going to be scared of that thing. Or if it's in a year's time, we see it as being very far away, in which case it's not a problem. It's the same with, to answer your question, you know, why do people play small? Our brain is a very complicated thing. You know, in the same way that we process time in relation to volume or space, we also process our emotions through different filters. You know, the filter of fear, the filter of anger, happiness. Then you've got to stack on top of that whether or not we're going to benefit or we're going to get hurt. You know, and then you've got to stack on top of that the opinions of other people, family members. What are they going to say? Am I going to be judged? Am I going to be outcast? A lot more goes into making human decision than what a lot of people realize. There's a lot that goes into it. However, my viewpoint is the human decision is one of the strongest forces in the universe. Have you ever had that experience, Simon, where you have simply made a very firm decision and you've just been like, decision made. In my head, I've already made the decision. I'm not going back on it.
I think I genuinely hold that that's one of my biggest skills I've learned, is from being a very indecisive person to be able to lock down a decision in seconds and stick to it.
I believe not tapping into that skill is one of the defining reasons why people continue to play small, because they haven't tapped into that ability to say, I have made a decision. This is the direction that I'm moving in, and no one can tell me otherwise. Because we're too influenced by the ideas of other people, the viewpoints and the opinions. The amygdala kicks in. We get scared. Are we going to be outcast? You know, our brains are complicated things, but if you can really tap into it, that firm decision, mate, that's powerful stuff.
The way I love this topic. We've never had this on the show. The way I love how I view decision is you're never going to know. So a lot of people play in indecisiveness, which is either fear or they regress because the world's moving so fast these days. They're either moving backwards in the world or they're just not taking an action. And I always look at it like, if you don't decide, you're never going to know. You're never going to know. Like, if you don't take one course of action, do you know what I mean? You're too worried about what if I didn't take the other course of action. You don't know what might happen. So just take an action and just go with it, because you're never going to know the outcome of something else. And you deciding to go right, you could be hit by a bus if you went left. You will never know that outcome. So there is only one path.
Precisely, mate. By not making a decision, you made the wrong decision by default. But like, by default, you've made the wrong decision because you're not going to feel the benefit of either decision. But there is I've taken the whole decision thing to such an extent. There's a few things that I stop and I think about. If I go back into just one-to-one coaching again, of course, my full-time attention now is put upon growing the coaching masters and qualifying and accrediting as many coaches as possible and helping them build this freedom-based business, which is all about helping people. But sometimes I think, if I do go back into one-to-one coaching, what would my focus be? And my focus would be on two things: decision and gratitude. I would now, out of all of the experience that I've got, those are the only two things I would ever coach people around nowadays. To be able to fully tap into genuine, deep-seated gratitude, because I feel like that honestly is the remedy for depression, sadness, anxiety, and just a nasty life all round, if we can tap into deep-seated gratitude. And also making a decision. No, I believe being happy is a decision. That's a decision that you make. Now, not a lot of people come to that stage in their life where they realize that that's a decision, because everybody's dictated by something else or someone else. You know, I'll be happy when I get that new job. I'll be happy when I find the love of my life, or I'll be happy when I get a bigger house. Being happy is a decision. And so is being unhappy. It's just that most of the time it's a decision that's being made unconsciously. You're not consciously aware of it. But make no mistake, on some level deep down, you've made a decision in order to feel that way. You've made a decision to remain unhappy. You've made a decision to remain depressed or full of anxiousness. There is no more powerful force in this universe than a firm, solid human decision. And when you make a decision like that, a decision that you will not, and nothing can change your mind or your state, it takes a fucking army to come and change a person once they've made a firm decision. So I go about my life making decisions. I decide to feel gratitude when I wake up in the morning. I decide to lay in bed and cuddle my wife for an extra 10 minutes. I decide that I'm going to be happy that day. And I'm not going to wait for anything or anyone to come and fucking validate that. I'm simply going to make a decision that that's going to happen and that's going to be the case and nothing's going to change it.
Liam, I absolutely love this. The topic of decision, and I hate to say it because it's so cliche and it sounds so simple, but it all boils down to choice, isn't it? It's you're choosing to take that. If I flip this back, because I really think I'm reflecting back on the conversation, what we've had, and if I go into my own story, I only became decisive when I changed my lens on how I viewed myself, the world, and my future. And a lot of people are like, oh, I struggle with decision making and all this sort of stuff. And I know before you mentioned about how we're either deleting, we're rearranging, and in NLP it's that sort of stuff. But you'll only do that from how you're viewing and how you're filtering things. And I really think it's like how the lens that we do. So how would you say, have you got any exercises or things like that which can help people see things differently, see the life differently, see future differently? Because I think when you flip the lens of how you're taking in the world, how you're taking in situations, how you're taking in life, your perception of time.
Definitely, mate.
Things
100%.
change.
Within the world of NLP, we focus on three things that we call people's rep systems, right? Representational systems. And they're related to three of the strongest senses that we've got. So as a human being, we experience the world through our five senses. We see it, we hear it, we smell it, we taste it, we touch it. There's also discussion, of course, around about that sixth sense, the sense of energy. That's why you can feel tension when you walk into a room. And I believe that is a thing. But for the most part, we talk about the five senses, especially within the world of NLP, sight, hearing, and touch. We call that visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Now, in order to change the lens of which you see the world or you see a particular situation, what you want to do is you want to do a dissection. And what I mean by a dissection is you want to dissect exactly what it is you're looking at and what it is you're hearing and what it is you're feeling. Because at all times, without consciously thinking about that, you're experiencing the world through all five of your senses all at once from overwhelming, right? And you're creating this one internal representation of what the world means or what that situation means through all five of your senses. So you want to separate the core three. I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody's struggling in a difficult relationship, and they're seeing this relationship through this one particular lens. What they want to do is they want to dissect those senses. So at first, they only want to pay attention to what they can see inside of that relationship. What can you see? What does it look like? What is the visual of that relationship? And that's going to happen in two parts. Either what they can physically see outside of them, but more importantly, what images do they conjure up inside of them, inside of their mind? What internal images are created when they think about looking at that relationship? What do I see and what can I learn from that? It's exactly the same with the sound. What does it sound like, this relationship? Does it sound like butterflies flying through the air, or does it sound like nails on a chalkboard? What can I learn from that? What does that mean to me? What am I hearing? And then what am I feeling? What is the sensation? If you dissect your three core senses, you gain such a deeper understanding around what it is you're experiencing that naturally it changes the lens.
I absolutely love that. I think as well, that kind of ties in, might be worth putting in on that topic, is also that's kind of the reason why people do view the world differently and people are having a completely different experience of life. You could go over to someone with a rose, smell it and be happy, but this person, when they sees the rose, remembers the time that they put a rose on the coffin of a loved one and it makes them upset.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Liam, I absolutely love this conversation, mate. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, with you guys now, obviously doing with what you're doing, what are the next stages? Because clearly you're building an army. You're really helping a lot of people change their lives. And the beautiful thing I love about this as a service-based model is you help the coach who then helps 20, 30, 40, 100, 1,000 people. So it genuinely is rippling across the world at a fast rate, clearly in the state of the growth. What's next for you guys? Like, where do you see it?
So what's next for us is the continuous growth of the Coaching Masters. You know, our core mission, as we speak about often, is we want to give ordinary people extraordinary tools to create freedom for not only themselves, but for others as well. And you put that very beautifully, actually, Simon, in terms of the ripple effect, because there's so many ripples that we can make as a coach, right? One-to-one coaching. But we're now, instead of throwing one pebble in a pond, it's almost like when we throw a pebble in the pond, that pebble then turns into another 20 pebbles, because we qualify someone as a coach and then they go and help 20 people, 30 people, 50 people. So that's the thing. We want that to be as big as possible. We want the Coaching Masters to be synonymous with the coaching industry. We want the Coaching Masters to become the coaching industry. We want to have the greatest membership in the world for coaches, which in all honesty, I feel like we've already got, but we need to grow that. And we want to qualify and accredit as many coaches as we possibly can, because there will never, ever, ever be enough coaches in the world. There really won't. And to sum that up, my coach, because of course I have a coach, I believe that coaches need coaches, we all need coaches, said something really beautiful. And she said, people that care for themselves and care for others, and she said, happy, healthy people don't damage the world, the planet, or the people in it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create happy, healthy people. And there are always going to be people that require a coach on some level. Another one of our missions is that we want to make coaching as fashionable as having a personal trainer. No one has any problem saying that they've got a personal trainer, right? It's like a badge of honor, a badge of fashion, respect. Oh, I'm going to go and do a session with my PT and fix their body, which is great. It's very commendable. We want people to be as proud about saying, oh, I've got a session tonight with my mindset coach, my confidence coach, my career coach. We want it to be fashionable. You know, we want everybody to have a coach.
I love this. I don't understand the stigma on this. If you look at anyone who's successful, even billionaires, they have coaches. They have like a coach in every single area. Me, myself, I've got a coach or some form of aid or counsel in every single area of life as well. But when people are starting out on the journey, I don't know where this stigma has come from, where people are, is it pride? Is it ego, where people don't want to admit that they're getting help for something? And I really think like the people who are doing things in the world are constantly having conversations. They're constantly getting guided, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I, you know what, mate? I have genuinely struggled with that for my whole life. I was the kid in school that would constantly ask for help, right? And I remember there was this one really defining moment in my life where I had this substitute teacher, and it was really funny actually. Her name was Mrs. Parry, and she said to me, you know what I've noticed about you, Liam? I've noticed that you don't have any problems with asking for help. And I remember stopping and thinking that was really unusual. She said that to me. And I remember saying, I remember thinking to myself, well, it saves me a lot of time, because I remember just thinking, all I need to do is ask one of these teachers the answer, and they just give me the answer. And I was thinking, I don't understand why everybody's sort of like trying to not ask for help and trying to go out there and hash it out and figure it out themselves. And that takes up a lot of time. And I can just ask someone for help and they just give me help. And if they give me help, I get the answer to my question within a fucking much shorter amount of time than if I didn't ask for help. And that's sort of like, I feel we need to take that into our adult life as well. You know, if you want help with your mindset, you get a coach, and then you can get to your goals a lot easier. If you want help with your confidence, your career, with your body, with your nutrition, like I just feel like it's very time consuming trying to do all that stuff on your own. I just don't, I haven't got the time for that. And I don't think anybody has the time for that. Hire someone, hire an aide, a coach, a mentor, a guide, and you will get to where you want to go much quicker.
The resistance with that is only at the beginning of someone's journey, though. When someone becomes more aware and conscious and can admit that they're in a struggle and need help, then they change it. If I look back at my own story, there was not a chance. Like, it took me ages. I was like, nope. And then as soon as I saw the value in it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need you here, here, here. And it's like, you've got your own little team that help slingshot you forwards. It's like, right, I've got a problem here. I'm a text away from getting the right answer to move forwards instead of sitting there feeling like shit, not being able to speaking about it with someone is probably one of the biggest things, like being able to express a problem. And get a different set of eyes. It's crazy. Do you, again, because obviously you guys coach people at the beginning of that journey. Obviously, I presume they've come to you where they're at a position where they understand that they need a little bit of help. Do you sometimes feel that, is there still little resistible traits that you see in those people who are new to business and new to entrepreneurship that kind of get in the way?
It's interesting because when people get to the point of discovering us and they know who we are, we throw so much value at them so early that they very quickly come to discover, right, okay, these guys can help me create the thing I want to create. And often people come to us for various different reasons. You know, they're looking for freedom. They're unfulfilled in their job. They're unfulfilled in their careers, you know, especially with everything that's going on in the world at the moment with COVID, you know, and people's job securities are being questioned and a lot of people being laid off and stuff, you know, sometimes jobs that people have had for many years. They're finding that their current jobs are unfulfilling. There's not a lot of meaning. There's not a lot of security. They're having that same realization that I had when I was a postman. They want to help people. They want to work for themselves. They want to make more money. They want to have more fulfillment. And they've come to discover that coaching is a very good way of doing that, either because we have educated them around the fact that coaching is a good way of doing that through some of our free trainings, or they've come to discover it themselves and then they've stumbled upon us. Or, of course, they know someone who's a coaching master and they've witnessed the transformation and the growth and the change. I'll tell you what, mate, the amount of new members we bring on because they say, oh, I'm friends with Sarah down the road. And over the last couple of months, she's just really happy. She's really changed. She seems very happy. She seems very confident. And I asked her about it and she said, oh, well, I've been studying towards becoming a coach and I learned how to create change in my life and I learned how to build my confidence and I learned how to break down my limiting belief of not being good enough. And it's changed my life. And they're like, I want a bit of that. And then they come on board. And a lot of the time, some people come on board to our course, sometimes not even to become a coach. But even though they become a qualified coach at the end of it, a lot of people come on our course in order to go on that journey of growth and transformation and change and find fulfillment. It just happens to be, it's also a very good business opportunity at the end of it and a career opportunity. But yeah, different levels of discovery, I would say. That's where we get people and we catch them and we get them into our community and we just educate them and we love them and we fill them with fulfillment. And it's brilliant, mate. I love it. I really do.
The other thing that I like about this is if you look at the successful models of like healing, like for example, the Alcohol Anonymous, like when people really heal and move through something, the final step of the really successful systems is to help somebody else and it seals the deal. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And I really feel with what you guys are doing as well, it's like people are gaining the skill sets to talk and help people about things that they've been through. And it kind of seals it for them and allows other people to then go through their process. So I think there's such a huge, from someone who's in a similar thing, I think there's a very rewarding feeling for yourself and then being able to pass that through. It's kind of does a world of good for you.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And that element of that, which was missing from my days as an actor, is why I think the universe came and smacked me on the chops and pointed me in a different direction, because that's what I was missing. You know, I was missing that element of helping people or contribution, service. And you know what, honestly, I've had a lot of fun in my years as an actor, and there may be a stage where I go back to it just out of pure fun and entertainment. But I've definitely found a considerable amount of fulfillment doing what I do in comparison to when I was an actor. When I was an actor, it was just trying to get to the next job and the next job and the next job. And parties were fun and nights out were fun, but there wasn't really much fulfillment. There's a lot of joy. There was a lot of entertainment and fun, but there wasn't anything really deeply fulfilling, not like what I have now.
It was meeting the egoic needs and not the deep soul needed needs.
Absolutely. And you know what? Interestingly enough, and my opinion on this probably differs from a lot of people, especially in the world of personal development in this space. But I think there's a space for that. I think there's a need for that. I think that fulfilling those ego-based needs is an element of being a human being, and I don't think it should be completely denied. I just think it needs to be balanced, right? And it might sound
I fully agree with you on that.
Balance, mate. You know, it really. I saw such a funny meme, Simon. Right, this creased me out. It said that when you become an adult, the answer to every question, especially when you don't know what the topic of conversation is, to say, well, it's just about balance. I thought that was so funny because it is actually true, though. Like, it's just a good answer to many questions, but to this particular question, it genuinely is the answer, you know, finding balance between that. I don't think people should fully deny their egotistical needs or put it this way. I value fun. Fun is one of my highest values. I think that is a value that people lose when they move away from childhood. And I think that is a fucking travesty, mate. I think there isn't enough fun being had amongst the human population when you move into your adulthood. We need to have more fun.
Fully agree with you. I fully agree. The thing that I love about this conversation, to like round it up, we've just ended up straight back at the beginning of your story as well, which is know your values. They'll fulfill you. You know what I mean? Really just hone in, know them, build your life around them. Notice, I totally agree with you as well. I think there's a lot of these books which are kill the ego and all that sort of stuff. But if you're a business person, you need some form of ego driver for that competition to get you out of bed, to see competition and stuff like that. So there is a place for it. I wouldn't necessarily kill it, just acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. I am 100% friends with my ego. 100%. I have got no problem with my ego. Me and my ego, we are amigos. Like, we're pals. Like, and I wouldn't want to kill it in any way, shape, or form. You know, we help each other in many respects. I completely agree with you, Simon. I think the whole kill the ego mindset is very dangerous.
Well, dude, Bali, prime example. I think fluidity is the key word in this conversation. I think you've got to be fluid enough. This kind of goes into masculinity, femininity, all that sort of stuff. But I think when it comes down to like ego, you've got to be able to kind of like be the yogi and the warrior at the same time. Be able to deliver a punch and go and hug someone at the same time. You know what I mean? Definitely. And I really feel like with the ego and like the soul and the ego connection, you need to kind of work together in unity. And I think like we said before, it's acknowledging it's there and working with it to hold hands with it to move forwards productively. I think if the ego can take you down, I know for me, it fucked me over. But in Bali, I saw the exact same opposite, where people had killed the ego and they just decided to sit in the lotus position, play weird spiritual instruments and sing all day, and were broke, had no money, were in a more stressful position trying to sustain life. And you've got to get that fluidity of that. Be friends with it. I think you really summed that up well. There's a book there. Befriend the ego.
100% befriend the ego. You know, egos to amigos. I am with my ego. Like, there's absolutely no denying that whatsoever. I can very, very happily go on a full journey of discovery, transformation, empathy, connecting with the universe one day, and I can very happily go and get fucking drunk and dance the night away in a nightclub and just have a fucking great time the next day. Like, and I'm happy doing both.
But there's power in that though, because it makes you relatable and connectable to like everyone. You can be, I'm very similar. I can go and connect. I can have deep conversations about magic mushrooms and weird shit. And then on the same time, you can put me in the corporate environment and I can go into that sort of stuff. Yeah. Or do you know what I mean? So fluidity. I really think that's a powerful word on that. But Liam, look, I need to respect your time. This has been an incredible conversation. I knew from the word go, with the story that I already knew of you, this was going to go a great places and open up a huge field which can help people. I want to acknowledge you. I really do. I think what you guys have created, I really do feel, from seeing it from the inside, I can see the impact it's having, but will have. And it's incredible because you are creating something that will ripple out and be at the peak of when this absolute mess of global travesty kind of finds some normal. because people need this. People need help. People need to know it's okay to get help. But more to the point, that people can turn a mess that they've been in life and help other people and find fulfillment in service. So it's amazing you're creating the platform for people to do that and find freedom, which,
I appreciate it.
Let's be honest, being able to build a business and travel the world is pretty fucking awesome.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, compared to walking the streets of Richmond delivering fucking packages and letters, mate, and I've had a few crappy jobs in my time. It beats every single one of them, hands down. Like straight after this podcast, I'm jumping on the train, I'm shooting into the city, and I'm just deciding to spend the next half of the day spending time with a friend, kicking my feet up and just having a good time with him. And I tell you what,
Awesome.
I wasn't able to do that when I worked in an office or when I was delivering letters, and I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. I'll get a train ticket one day and I'll come down. I have to ask you as well, being a postman, was there a certain house or set of houses where you used to get chased by a dog, or a dog would bite your hand as you put the letters in the letterbox?
I tell you what, mate, just to quickly round this off, worse than that, the defining moment where I decided something needed to change is where I literally went from working every day with Tom Hardy to delivering his mail. I swear to God. He lives in Richmond, right? Which is where I delivered the post.
Oh, no.
I used to deliver his mail. And there was one day where I needed a signature for a package. And I knocked on his door. And this was years later, right? This was like about 3 years later or something. I'd gone from being like this big, bald, stacked Bane. And I was like quite skinny because I was like feeling really crappy about this job that I had. I wasn't eating very well. I'd lost a lot of weight. And I had long hair. I had a long beard. I looked totally different. I knocked on his door. He opened his door, and he didn't even recognize me. And I genuinely, mate, I couldn't even bring myself to say, "Oh, Tom, it's Liam from Batman." And I just like froze, and I said, "Oh, I need your signature, mate." And he signed it, and he sort of looked at me, and I kind of looked at him, and there was a sort of look in his face where he was kind of like a bit like, I kind of think maybe I know this guy. And I literally just was like, bye. And I just sort of backed off from him, and then he closed the door, and I was like, right, fuck this. No, something needs, I can't go from working every day with this guy on the biggest movie in the world to delivering his mail and he doesn't even recognize me. I've got to go and make something of myself.
And so he did. He decided.
Made a decision. Yep. Made a decision that day.
So Liam, look, a couple of things I want to round up on. I'll keep them short and sweet, but we always ask these questions. We've not asked this one for a while. I think you'd be a great person to ask. If you could go back in time, you could think to a moment when things weren't great or whatnot, or you can think to a moment when you were your happiest, either contrastical, and you can walk back into that picture and you can give younger Liam or 20-year-old Liam or 7-year-old Liam a big piece of advice that he's learned through his story. What life advice would you give to that younger version of yourself?
So this topic will be a podcast for another time, Simon, which I'll look forward to doing that with you as well at some point if you want. I would go back to the moments leading up to losing my dad to suicide, and I would say, go and talk to your fucking dad. And I want every single one of our listeners here, if you're in a position to do so, to go and tell your parents how much you love them and respect them and appreciate them. Because when it gets to the point where you are not able to do that, regardless of how much you want to do it, you are going to regret it. So I would go back to that moment and I would say, Liam, and slap him around the face and say, go and talk to your dad and spend time with him and listen to him and understand him. And I implore every listener to go and do that immediately after listening to this podcast.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. Liam, I'm just going to wrap it up on that, mate. Look, you're an incredible person. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the fact we've finally got connected and brought together what I feel is going to be a real big show that can help people. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, and do it again, acknowledgements on what you're doing. I really think this is something that's big in the world.
I appreciate it, mate. I appreciate it. Well, thank you for your time, Simon, as well, of course. And thank you to all of the listeners taking their time to listen to this podcast as well. I value time very highly. I know that you've paid and spent some of your time to be here. So I really appreciate it.
Liam, where can people find you and find out more about the work that you're doing in the world?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got a podcast as well. It's quite exciting. We've got the Coaching Masters podcast, so definitely go and listen to that podcast. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's at liam.james.collins. And of course, there's the coachingmasters.com as well. Just go and check out some of our videos, some of our trainings, just see what we're all about. But people love the podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast, it means you like podcasts. So hop on over to the Coaching Masters podcast and have a listen.
Exactly. And if you are watching on YouTube, please send him a message and let him know what color of pink he needs to color his room.
1, 2, or 3. Let me know.
Liam, you're amazing. Thank you.
Cheers, Simon.